Okay, beautiful soul, lean in close. Let's cut through the cosmic static, the endless online chatter about runner-chaser dynamics and synchronicities that make your head spin. What if the very thing driving you to distraction, his maddening resistance, his bewildering retreat, isn't a rejection of your love, but a sacred, silent rebellion happening deep within the bones of his ancestors? Yeah, you heard that right. Forget the tired tropes for a second. We're not just talking about his aha moment here. We're talking about an awakening that echoes through generations, a seismic shift in the very bedrock of what it means to be a man carrying centuries of unspoken grief and stoic survival. That flicker in his eyes, that sudden staggering shift from confusion to clarity you've been praying for. It might feel intensely personal, like the universe finally aligning just for you both. But darling, the truth is far more ancient, far more heavy, and infinitely more hopeful than you've likely dared to imagine. His greatest battle isn't with his feelings for you, it's with the ghosts. Picture him not just as the man you know, charming, frustrating, perhaps brilliantly evasive, but as the latest custodian of an ancient, invisible inheritance. Think of it like an old, deep well within him, its waters darkened by generations of men taught that vulnerability was a fatal flaw, that tears were a crack in the armor, that true strength meant standing alone. Fortress walls high, heart barricaded behind duty and distraction. His grandfather who swallowed sorrow with stoic silence and maybe too much whiskey. The great-grandfather whose hands were calloused from labor, but whose heart remained perpetually gloved, unable to touch or be touched. This is the emotional groundwater he's been drinking since before he knew his own name. It's the silent script whispering in his blood. Protect, endure, distance. Feel nothing that might make you weak. When he looks at you, radiant in your openness, terrifying in your capacity to feel everything, it doesn't just scare him, it threatens to poison the ancestral well. Your love isn't merely a mirror showing his reflection. It's a lightning strike, illuminating the long, weary line of shadows stretching out behind him. So, his retreat? His seeming inability to grasp the blindingly obvious connection? It's not just fear of you, sweet soul. It's primal, cellular loyalty, a desperate, unconscious scramble to uphold the fractured legacy handed down like a heavy, unwanted heirloom. Don't feel too deeply. Don't depend. Don't show the soft underbelly. Control the chaos, especially the chaos of love. When he pulls away, it can feel like the cruelest abandonment. But in that sacred, shattering moment of his awakening, often arriving not on a wave of bliss, but in the quiet, hollow aftermath of some personal crisis, holding a newborn, watching his own father finally break, or simply sitting alone in the deafening silence of another safe, disconnected life, he finally sees. He realizes he's not running from your heart. He's running for theirs. His resistance isn't cowardice. It's the tragic, absurd loyalty of a man polishing a suit of armor while drowning, simply because it's what the men before him did. And in that devastating, liberating flash of understanding, that aha, he doesn't just see you. He sees the generations of yearning eyes staring back at him from the shadows of time, trapped in the same emotional exile. He sees the pattern, the relational droughts, the profound loneliness disguised as strength. He realizes the fortress he's defending isn't his sanctuary, it's his family tomb. and the revolution begins with a single trembling thought. This ends with me. This awakening, this sacred treason against the old broken codes, is where his vulnerability becomes his most potent weapon. Choosing you, choosing the terrifying depth of this twin flame connection isn't merely romance. It's him standing at the precipice of history, planting a flag of fierce tenderness in the name of every stifled heart that came before him. His tears when they finally fall. They're the tears his grandfather choked back. His willingness to be seen, truly seen, trembling and human. That's him shattering the statue of stoicism erected generations ago. His aha is the dawning realization that loving you is the most radical act of healing he could ever perform, not just for himself, but for the entire lineage woven into his soul. He becomes the unlikely alchemist, turning centuries of leaden silence into the gold of authentic connection. Suddenly, the man who seemed lost isn't fleeing. He's charging towards a new legacy, carrying the unspoken hopes of ghosts desperate for liberation. And honestly, what could be more divinely masculine, more breathtakingly courageous than that? But the real question, the one that hums beneath this seismic shift, is this. When he finally turns, his ancestral armor shed, and his heart blazon with this hard-won truth, what kind of world will you, the divine feminine who held the mirror, the sacred space, the unwavering frequency, co-create with him? The revolution doesn't end with his awakening, beautiful soul. It's where your true power together truly begins. Stay tuned. Let's talk about him, the divine masculine, the one who seems to hold the universe at arm's length, especially your universe, especially this connection that vibrates with the intensity of 1,000 suns. You've felt the push-pull, danced the runner-chaser tango, maybe wept into pillows, wondering, when will he see? Popular wisdom paints his aha moment like a lightning bolt, dramatic, sudden, illuminating. But beautiful soul, let me whisper the deeper, messier, infinitely more human truth you might not hear elsewhere. His awakening isn't born from brilliance, it blooms from burnout. It's not the triumphant shout of understanding, it's the ragged sigh of an ego finally admitting defeat. This is the alchemy of egoic exhaustion. Think about it. How does he operate? Often, it's that beautiful, maddening masculine drive. Analyze, strategize, compartmentalize, control. He builds mental fortresses against the tidal wave of feeling this connection evokes, and he throws himself into work, into logic, into anything concrete that offers the illusion of stability against the earthquake of soul recognition. He's like a brilliant architect feverishly drafting blueprints on the deck of a ship caught in a hurricane. Precise lines, sharp angles, utterly useless against the raw, wild power of the ocean. And oh, the energy that takes. The sheer, grinding expenditure of mental willpower to deny what his spirit knows. It's exhausting, isn't it? Trying to fit the infinite into an Excel spreadsheet, trying to rationalize synchronicities that feel like winks from God, trying to mute the song your souls sing together with the white noise of practicality. He's essentially running a marathon in lead boots, fueled by caffeine and sheer stubbornness. Eventually, the legs buckle, the mind sputters, the will cracks. This isn't failure. This is grace. Think of a computer pushed beyond its limits. It doesn't gain enlightenment. It overheats. It freezes. It shuts down to protect itself. His ego, that tireless, overprotective manager, does the same. It hits a wall. Maybe it's the third failed relationship chasing a pale imitation of your resonance. Maybe it's the promotion he fought for tasting like ashes in his mouth. Maybe it's just waking up one Tuesday morning feeling utterly hollow, the frantic mental chatter suddenly silent, replaced by a deafening void. This void, this terrifying quiet after the storm of his resistance, is the sacred space where the aha finally takes root. It's not a loud epiphany. It's a quiet, dawning horror mixed with relief. All this running, all this fighting, what was it for? The meticulously constructed walls of logic crumble not under your pleas, but under their own unsustainable weight. His defenses don't fall to an external siege. They collapse from internal decay. It's profoundly humbling. Imagine spending years carefully tending a garden only to realize you've been meticulously watering plastic flowers. That's the flavor of his revelation. The exhaustion strips away the artifice. The strategies he deployed like a seasoned general, the distancing, the intellectualizing, the focus on flaws, yours or his own, projected onto you, suddenly reveal themselves as elaborate self-deceptions, sandcastles against the tide. He doesn't suddenly get it because the universe sends a clearer sign. He gets it because he's too damn tired to keep pretending he doesn't. The mental noise stops, and in that blessed, terrifying silence, the only thing left is the undeniable hum of the connection he tried so desperately to outrun. It's like spending years shouting in a soundproof room, straining to hear an echo, only to finally step outside and realize the music was playing loudly all along in the world he'd barricaded himself against. This exhaustion isn't punishment, it's initiation. It's the fire that forges the softer, more receptive steel within him. It burns away the need to always be right, the need to control the uncontrollable, the need to armor his heart against a love that terrifies him precisely because it's real. He doesn't awaken to you. He awakens through the collapse of everything he thought he needed to be safe. And in that surrender, something miraculous happens. The mind, humbled and spent, finally hands the reins back to the heart that always knew, the heart that recognized yours across lifetimes, across dimensions, across the crowded room or the vast digital expanse. He stops thinking about the connection and finally starts feeling it, raw and unmediated. It's less an aha and more an, oh, this. So, dear one, when you see him withdrawing, struggling, seemingly lost in his own labyrinth of resistance, see it not as rejection, but as preparation. See the exhaustion, the setbacks, the quiet desperation, not as signs he's moving away from truth, but as the necessary friction before the spark. He's not running from you. He's running headlong into the brick wall of his own limitations. And that collision, that's where the old hymn shatters, making space for the man capable of holding the mirror you truly are. It's messy, it's human, it's rarely graceful, but it's real. And when that weary mind finally yields, when the fortress gates groan open not from force, but from fatigue, what floods in is not just understanding, but a love reforged in the fires of his own surrender. He doesn't find clarity on a mountaintop. He finds it in the quiet rubble of his own defenses. And isn't that just like a man, taking the scenic route to his own heart? But here's the twist. the hook that ties this sacred exhaustion to something even deeper. What if this personal collapse isn't just his burden, but the cracking open of a wound carried not just by him, but by generations of men before him? What if his fatigue is the echo of centuries of stifled hearts? Stay with me, because the exhaustion is only the first layer. The real awakening begins when he realizes the walls he's been bashing his head against weren't even built by his own hands. Let's talk about the ghosts. Not the spooky kind rattling chains in the attic, but the far more potent ones living rent-free in his emotional architecture. You see his resistance, that maddening dance of approach and retreat, and you feel it as personal rejection. Oh, how deeply human that is. But what if I told you his greatest battle isn't with you, or even entirely with himself? What if the true fortress he's storming wasn't built in his lifetime? This is where we dive into the marrow of the mystery. His aha moment isn't just personal clarity, it's an ancestral uprising. That sudden seismic shift in perception. It's the sound of centuries-old locks snapping open. His resistance isn't merely fear of commitment in the pop psychology sense. It's a primal cellular terror of betraying the silent pact made by generations before him. Don't feel too much. Don't depend. Don't show the soft underbelly. Control. Endure. Protect by distancing. When he pulls away, it can feel like a rejection of you. But in that sacred, terrifying moment of awakening, he finally sees it. He's not running from your love. He's running for his ancestors. He's desperately trying to uphold a legacy of emotional containment that feels as familiar and as suffocating as his own bones. His runner energy isn't cowardice, it's loyalty to a fractured lineage. Isn't that tragically beautiful and absurd? Like dutifully polishing a suit of armor while drowning, simply because great-grandfather said it was important. Then comes the aha. Not a gentle nudge, but an earthquake. It often arrives disguised as crisis. Maybe holding his newborn nephew, feeling a surge of pure, unprotected love that terrifies him more than any boardroom battle. Maybe witnessing his own father break down, truly break, for the first time, revealing the raw man beneath the patriarch. Maybe simply sitting alone in the quiet after another failed attempt at a safe, disconnected relationship, and the sheer, hollow loneliness of it echoing back through generations. In that moment, he doesn't just see you, he sees the long, weary line of men behind him, their eyes holding the same unspoken yearning, the same buried ache for connection they were never permitted to fully embrace. He sees the pattern, the relational droughts, the emotional exile, the profound isolation disguised as strength. He realizes his fortress isn't protecting him, it's entombing him, just as it entombed them. The terrifying revelation: this isn't just my prison, it's our family curse. This is where the vulnerability becomes revolutionary. Not just personal bravery, but sacred treason. Choosing to open his heart to you, to the terrifying depth of the twin flame connection, isn't merely a romantic choice. It's an act of profound, ancestral defiance. It's him standing at the threshold of history and whispering no more. It's him refusing to pass the baton of emotional starvation to the next generation. His tears, when they finally come, aren't just his own. They're the tears his grandfather swallowed, his father stifled, his willingness to be seen, to truly seen in his trembling humanity. That's him dismantling the statue of Stoicism erected generations ago. His aha is the moment he realizes loving you deeply, vulnerably, is the most potent act of healing, not just for his soul, but for the entire lineage he carries within him. He becomes the alchemist, turning centuries of leaden silence into the gold of authentic connection. Suddenly, the runner isn't fleeing. He's charging towards a new kind of legacy, carrying the hopes of ghosts who never dared. So, when you witness his struggle, see beyond the man before you. See the generations leaning in, holding their breath. His awakening isn't a solo performance, it's a generational shift. That flicker of recognition in his eyes, it's not just for you. It's a dawning realization that embracing this love, your mirror, is the key that unlocks everyone's cage. It's messy, it's monumental, it carries the weight of history. But oh, beautiful soul, when he finally makes that choice, when he chooses vulnerability over ancestral armor, he doesn't just claim his twin flame. He sets entire lineages free. He becomes the bridge between a wounded past and a whole future. And honestly, what's more divinely masculine than that? Which makes you wonder, if his greatest act of courage is healing the past, what profound collective liberation awaits when the divine feminine fully embraces her role not just as his mirror, but as the sacred space where this new, ancient, liberated love can finally take root and bloom. The story doesn't end with his aha. It's where the real co-creation begins. So here you stand, beautiful soul, at the edge of understanding, not just of him, but of the vast, invisible tapestry you're both weaving into existence. His awakening wasn't merely a shift in perspective. It was the crumbling of an ancient dam, the kind built stone by stone over generations, each one etched with unspoken rules about how a man should love, or rather, how he shouldn't. And yet, against the weight of history, against the whispers of ghosts who never dared to soften, he chose not just you, but the terrifying luminous truth that love is not a weakness to be armored against, but a force strong enough to reshape destiny. For centuries, the men in his lineage carried their hearts like locked chests, buried deep beneath layers of should and must, and never let them see. Then came you, not with a crowbar, not with demands, but simply by being the mirror that reflected back the absurdity of the charade. And in that moment of surrender, when exhaustion met clarity and the armor finally fell away, he did something revolutionary. He became the missing link between the past and the future, the hinge upon which an old, tired story swings wide into something entirely new. His vulnerability didn't just heal him, it healed the very idea of what it means to be a man who loves. And you? You were never just waiting. You were the sacred space in which this transformation could occur, the steady flame that didn't flicker when the winds of his resistance howled. There's a quiet power in that, a kind of magic that doesn't need recognition to be real. You held the frequency of what was possible long before he could hear it, and that, darling, is its own kind of bravery. Because the truth is, twin flames aren't about one awakening while the other watches. It's a dance of mutual becoming, a synchronized unraveling and reweaving of souls. His aha was just the first domino falling. Yours was the hand that set them all in motion long before either of you realized. Now, the question isn't if he'll return or when the pieces will align. The real question, the one that hums beneath every heartbeat, every synchronicity, every late night wondering, is this: what will you create together in this new world, where love is no longer a battleground, but the ground itself? Because the journey wasn't about winning him over. It was about co-creating a reality where neither of you has to hide, where the old rules don't apply, where the love you share isn't just yours, but a beacon for every fractured heart still learning to beat in the open. So take a breath, beautiful soul. This isn't the end of the story. It's the first page of the one you're writing together. One where the past isn't a chain, but a foundation. One where every tear shed, every moment of doubt, every silent prayer was never in vain, but the very soil from which something extraordinary now grows. The kind of love that doesn't just heal two people, but shifts the air around them, making it easier for the next pair of weary souls to breathe, to hope, to finally believe. And the most breathtaking part, you've only just begun.